Hey, how's it going, fellas? Back with another discussion late at night because it's the only chance I get to make these videos now. Because, like, if any of you seen my post earlier, I said that there's a lack of privacy right now, so I kind of have to resort to these late night discussions. Sorry for the black screen, but it's the best I can do for now, so. But today I want to talk about how people who blame people for their problems are I think they're truly evil, because I've seen a lot of stuff nowadays where people will blame you specifically for all your problems. Like, they'll try and make out that you're the problem and that there's absolutely nothing wrong with anyone else. Like, I don't understand why, especially nowadays, like, people always throw this thing out like, oh, you're responsible for everything. It's your problem. It's your problem that you have those problems. It's your fault. And like, I don't get how someone can say that, because number one, they haven't lived your actual life. So how can they be judging you when they haven't experienced the life that you've lived? You know. So some people have lived a life of pure misery and hell, like, and other people don't understand. Some people don't understand what it's like to live that, what it's like to truly live that kind of life. So how can they be out here saying that everything is your fault? Like, every problem you have is because of you. Like, was it was it was it some people's fault that they were born into poverty, or into a bad family, or is it is it someone's fault if their parents treated them terribly, and or if they went to school and the other students treated them terribly? Is that really their fault that happened to them? Because according by these people's logic, then it should be. And that is truly evil, to think that just because someone like that was born into a unfortunate circumstance like that, that their everything is their fault. Like, you see, I'm not religious. I don't want to get religious, but I think I think God has a special place in hell for people who blame other people, who blame people and say it's their fault for their problems. Because at the end of the day, I don't believe in judging people, because everyone deals with their own demons, and you can't be saying that there can be external factors as to why someone is the way they are, and not and it's also down to genetics as well. Some people have a predis I suppose you call it a predisposition to act in a certain way, because maybe they might be prone to depression, or some other kind of anxiety or mental illness like that. And some people might have a genetic predisposition to that, and that isn't their fault either. If a guy gets schizophrenia at the age of 25 or whatever, like, is that his fault that he became that way? Would you be saying, no, it's your fault that you developed that, you started hearing voices or whatever? Would you be saying that to a guy like that? So that's why I'm not trying to hear anyone that, when I talk about the stuff I talk about, I'm not trying to hear anyone coming at me saying that that's all your fault for being that way, because at the end of the day, I know it's not my fault that I am. The people the content, I'm sure that the content creators that I watch, they know the stuff I talk about, and they've seen my comments on their videos, so they know what they know the kind of stuff I talk about, and people who are jumping in on those videos saying like, oh, you have to work on yourself. Everything is your fault. Like, it's your fault you're not having success with women, or it's your fault that you have the problems that you have. Like that's true. That's evil. Like, because how can someone in a position of power, how can someone who has a great in life, how can someone who has a good in life or great in life, how can they sit there and blame someone for their problems? Like, because, and say it's their fault for everything. Because if some people don't want to admit this, but some people just were born lucky, because like, take people who were born into wealth, like they're the truly lucky ones, because they didn't have to do anything to actually earn their place in life, you know. But I think the reason people are so prone to telling people that it's their fault for their problems is because we live in a society now that's so vain and narcissistic, like, and individualistic. Like, people can't. There's no community anymore, and people just can't empathize with other people. They can't put themselves in another person's shoes, like, you know, because not everyone has had it great in life, and certain people just had bad luck, and it wasn't their fault that things turned out the way they did, you know. So I'm not trying to hear anything from people saying, no, your problems are your fault, you know, because not everyone's problems were their fault. I'm not saying that not every problem is your own fault, because there's steps that can be taken to combat those problems, but there, some people are just they're uh, they're stuck with those problems no matter what they do, and there's no way of fixing it, you know. So how are you going to tell people that it's their fault for something that they can't fix? Like, that's why it's evil to act to take someone who's in an unfortunate position and then make them feel even worse by saying it's their fault. Like, that's truly evil, if you ask me. And I see it so much on social media, people blaming people for their problems and saying it's their fault and that they are the way they are. And it's almost like they get power out of it, because I think people who comment on my videos, or people who reply to me in comments saying that it's your fault that that you have the problems you have, those people to me seem to be looking for a sense of power, probably because maybe they don't feel themselves that they are in the best position themselves, so they want to attack other people and say it's your fault. It's your fault for having those problems, and I think this is their way of feeling, getting a sense of power, because they lack it in real life. So that's why I don't take these people seriously anymore. Or any people that leave comments like that saying it's your fault for having all those for it's your fault for having those problems. I'm not taking those people seriously anymore, because I know at the end of the day that they're just talking BS, you know? Because not everyone had it good in life, and not everyone was blessed with good fortune, like some people were, but some people weren't, and that's just how it is. Like, And I don't believe God created everyone equal, because some people were just born to suffer and live miserable lives, and other people weren't, you know? Because why are there certain people in this life who are born into complete misery, with born in a poor country with no food or running water? Like, is it those people's fault that they're in the position that they're in? So how are you going to tell me that certain people who have problems like, depression or loneliness or stuff like that, how are you going to tell me that it's their fault for having those problems? Because no one wants to be in the position that they are. And another thing that annoys me is when people say, "Oh, you've done nothing to you've done nothing to actually improve your life." But a lot of us actually have tried to improve our lives, but it just didn't pan out, you know. And then maybe we just kind of lost the energy to do it, and so we've kind of given up on things, you know. So we don't need people blaming us and telling us, "Oh, it's your fault for having all those problems," because it's not helping. Like, another thing is, I don't know if people who say this, like people who blame you for causing your own problems, like, I don't know if they actually think they're trying to help by saying this. Like, what good does telling someone that everything is their fault, absolutely everything is their fault, what good is that in helping them get out of that situation? Because to me, all it seems like is you're just putting that person down and making them feel even worse than they were before by saying that everything is their fault. Like how is that? I know there's a such thing as tough love, but the way some of these people express themselves, there's clearly there's no positive intent in their words. So that's why I'm not taking these people seriously anymore, and I think they're just evil. They have the devil in them, I think, because they're like, taking telling someone who's in the worst position imaginable that everything is their fault, that's only going to make them feel even worse than they actually are feeling at the moment. Like, how can you tell people that and sleep at night, you know? Because it's different. It's different if you're offering constructive criticism of someone. Like, there's ways of being constructive about it. But most people nowadays, they don't care to be constructive because they don't want to be. They don't truly want to help that person. So they rather just say, it's your fault for having all your problems. Like, and I'd say people need to cut it out, but I know they won't. So now I just deal with it. Like, if someone's telling me that, oh, everything is your fault, then I just know, I know at the end of the day, it's not my fault. Some of the problems I have are not my fault at all, even though people say they are. And that's why I'm no longer listening to these people anymore, because I know everything they say is just BS, you know? And a lot of people think they have all the answers in life, but they really don't. And because most people are just drifting through life with no answers. Either they got lucky or they just, you know, and nobody has the answers because only the individual themselves, only you, only you know what your life has been like. And only you know the answer to what it's going to take to improve it. And, so you can't be listening to people saying, oh, everything is your fault, because you know that not everything is your fault. And you were not blessed with good luck in life. So anything these people say, you know, is just BS. You know. Anyway, I think that might be the end of the video. Um, so yeah, just remember everything. Not everything in life is your fault. Any problems you have is not all your fault. Because people like to say blaming other people is a bad thing, but some people were. The fact is, some other people were responsible for your problems. Like, if you were bullied in school or you had a bad childhood because of your parents, that wasn't your fault that you turned out that way. So you're justified in blaming other people, certain people for that, you know? So yeah, that'll be the end of the video. So I'll see you next time. Take care.